Hello, and welcome to the BamCam podcast with your hosts, Alison and Adrian Castellano. Hello, how are you guys?
Hi, we're doing great.
We're doing great. We're still in the newborn fog a little bit, but we're coming out of it. There's a lot at the end of the tunnel.
So if you have any tips, send them our way.
There you go. They need the tips. I'm a dog mom. I cannot help you, but I'm sure
we'll take the dog tips as well.
Give them anything they want.
Yeah. We go through lots of greenies in our house.
So what are we going to be talking about today, guys?
Today we're talking about something really important and something that affects us all: digital fraud.
Yeah.
Scams, hacking, all the ways that people are trying to get into your business and perhaps even your bank account.
You know, it's fun. It's not funny, but it's funny that every year you feel like people say this is the worst year ever for scams. They're everywhere. This is a new record for the amount that's been stolen from a company virtually or whatever. And it seems like every year we say the same thing, and it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
It's like the Wild West out there, right? Scammers aren't just targeting big corporations or tech anymore either. And you know, sometimes it's city governments.
Yeah.
I saw that there was, I used to live in Abilene, Texas, and I saw on Facebook that some of the city office stuff, their technology was hacked.
Oh, wow.
And so it was causing issues with the day-to-day operations over there. So it happens to everyone. It's not just tech-challenged grandparents anymore either. Everybody is fair game, whether you're in your teens and 20s or you're in your 60s and 70s or up. If you're online, you are a potential target. Right?
Yeah. And I don't know anyone who's not online these days.
Exactly.
Just about everyone I know is. So we're all fair game. And honestly, the scams are getting better. They're getting more and more believable.
Harder to detect.
Yeah. Back when I was growing up, there was the email that went around from the Nigerian prince. that one was pretty obvious. The Nigerian prince asking for money. But it's not that email anymore. We're seeing everything from fake text messages that look like they're from your bank to Instagram DMs from hacked accounts. There's even been some super convincing but scammy job offers out there. And with AI, scammers are leveling up. They can now generate realistic messages that sound like a real person, create fake profiles with stolen photos, or even clone voices using audio from social media. It's getting easier for them to make scams look and sound legit, which is really scary. And it makes it even easier for people to fall for. So we'll talk more about the AI bit in a little bit later. But
I was gonna say, one of the things that I can think of off the top of my head, one of the texts that I get nonstop is, the one about, we couldn't deliver your package. This is the USPS. Click this link to confirm your delivery.
Or your package is caught up in customs.
Yeah, something like that.
And usually it's coming from a country code. If you look at who's sending it.
It's not from the U.S.
I get those, and I get the ones about tolls. You've failed to pay a toll.
Yeah.
You failed to pay a toll fee. Yeah. And that's coming from, usually I get that one from the Philippines when I look at the country code.
And there are no tolls around where we live.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have tolls.
Thankfully.
So, but yeah, it's getting harder to determine which one is real and which one is not.
Yeah, exactly. So why is this all a big deal? Well, obviously it is. Let's start with why this is something that we all need to pay attention to. A stat for you. In 2024, Americans reported losing over $12.5 billion with a B.
That's a lot.
Fraud. It's a lot of money. That's according to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And that is a 25% increase from the previous year and the highest amount ever recorded by the agency. That was 2024. I'm willing to guess that in 2025, we're going to set
up
a new record. And in 2020, and so
it just
on.
keeps
That's
going
just
up.
The way it is.
And here's what's kind of scary about that stat. That's just the reported cases.
Exactly.
There are many, many instances where cases go unreported. So actual losses are likely even higher. What's particularly concerning is how scammers are leveraging technology to make their schemes more convincing.
Yeah, exactly. With the advent of AI, artificial intelligence, scammers can now craft those highly realistic sounding and looking messages that mimic the tone and kind of style of a person that you trust, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to gain trust. That's the whole point of this. The scammers are trying to gain your trust so that you give away that personal information or whatever it is that they need to complete their scam. They can generate fake profiles on social media with stolen photos, create those deep fake videos that are really scary that you're starting to hear about in the news. And they can even clone voices using audio samples of you that they find online. And so that can create things that are very difficult as well. And so it's hard to distinguish the individuals that are scammers versus the ones that are genuine.
Yeah. No, and it's a new frontier in fraud. AI tools can automate the creation of phishing emails, simulate conversations in real time, and adapt to responses. That part's kind of scary. It's making scams more personalized and harder to detect.
This is a topic that really gets our 1-month-old Boyd all riled up.
Yeah, he's over here all riled up about this. But the technological edge allows scammers to cast wider nets and deceive even more people. Because to be honest, not many of us were falling for that Nigerian prince email.
Yeah, it's not just one person. They're trying to get everybody kind of lumped in together. And that's what we're seeing these days, especially with those social media scams. So given these enhancements, it's more important than ever to obviously stay vigilant. Sit back, relax for a second, kind of analyze the whole situation if you think you're getting scammed, to make sure that you make a wise decision. Don't be rash. Don't just click something right away. You want to be cautious with those unsolicited communications. They reach out to you just out of the blue. Be careful with those. Verify requests through official channels. For instance, if you see something that is claiming to come from your bank, give your bank a call to make sure before you respond back to that text.
Yeah, I think I've seen too online. Your bank is not going to just randomly text you out of the blue.
Yeah.
They're, you need to contact them.
Yeah.
Go see them in person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. And then, you want to talk, educate your loved ones. Perhaps it's your parents or grandparents, but perhaps it's your kids. We mentioned this. It's everybody, not just a specific age group that can fall prey to these scams. Take a moment to double check. It can save you from significant losses down the line.
Yeah. So let's start with your social media accounts and how you can protect them.
And we see this all the time.
It's something simple. We're all probably on social media. Most of us don't protect our social media as well as we should.
Yeah.
In fact, this is something that we recently did because we knew someone whose account got hacked.
Yeah, we needed to up our security so that we didn't fall prey like this other person that we knew. And so this is a term that you hear a lot. It's called two-factor authentication. And I'll be honest with you, it can be a pain in the butt.
Facebook did not make it easy to set up, but once it's set up, it's there.
Yeah, between that and all the different passwords and the different requirements for passwords where they have to be a certain length, 12, 16 characters in some cases. And they have to include the special characters. They have to be underlined or not underlined, but lower, uppercase.
Yeah.
They have to have numbers. It's hard to keep track, obviously, of all your passwords and all the different technology to kind of preserve your safety, right? But two-factor authentication is important. It's when your account will send you a code when someone tries to log in. This is, for instance, something you can do on Facebook so that if somebody that is not you tries to log into your Facebook account, it's going to send you a code. And if you randomly get a code when you're not trying to log in, then you know something's up, right? And so this is just an extra step that can help save you from a huge headache, because the person that we're talking about that had their account hacked, it was a giant headache, and it went on for weeks before things could be resolved.
Yeah. So that was kind of what prompted us to set up this two-factor authentication for
was
our Meta
for sure.
platforms. But we probably should have done it a lot sooner. But also use unique passwords for each platform. And we're not talking about using your dog's name or your kid's birthday. Use something that's unique, something that you'll remember, but something that's unique. And if you need to, there are password managers out there that can help you keep track of them. Don't just have them written down in your journal. I know the app Dashlane can be used to keep track of passwords.
And there's ways. Well, there's other not attachments, but there's other
apps.
plug-ins that you can use on a
plugins.
computer. There are ways to do it to just try to kind of keep things, because like I mentioned, it's becoming nearly impossible to remember all the different passwords. It used to be where you would have one password for all of your accounts.
Yeah.
Right. And then that was easy to remember. I can remember the one that I had as a kid.
Can you remember your college password to get into like your college platforms? I can't remember mine.
I think I do, actually. I think I do. And that's what's crazy about it.
Yeah.
There weren't all these different requirements, but now there's different requirements for every different site or every different account that you have. And that's why, you mentioned having a password manager can really help things out, because it's not just so simple like, naming your dog or your birthday.
Yeah.
Don't click every link you get. Okay. That's another important tip here. Even if it looks like it came from a reliable source, a lot of times what you see in these scams is they'll change one letter or one character. And so you'll have a word that has the letter L in it, but instead of an L, they'll put the number 1.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you look really closely and you spend a couple of minutes, you'll realize that. But if you just glance at it, it's very hard to detect. And so then you click that link, it takes you to a bad place, and you're opening yourself up for the scammers to be able to access your personal data.
Yes, exactly. And, one thing that I've noticed too, a lot of times people fill out like fun quizzes or, little things about them on their social media. They're answering questions like, what was your first car?
Yeah.
And who was your favorite teacher? And
I was going to say, wait a second. That sounds like some of the security questions.
It sounds like the security questions,
when I forget my password and I click forgot password.
So when you're answering those like fun quizzes, they seem fun and innocent at the time, but a lot of those tie into the security questions, and you're giving out that information right there for everyone to see.
That is a scammer's gold mine right there.
Yeah. Yeah. It used to be those fun quizzes were in magazines when I was growing up, and now they're online.
Yeah, I was saying you would see them then on Facebook and like the notes. There'd be like little Facebook notes that you would fill out. I remember those from when I was in college. But yeah, definitely be careful of those.
Yeah. Let's talk about some red flags.
Yeah. So that's obviously, we've talked briefly about some of the red flags, but let's kind of dive deeper into them. So when it comes to your money, I think one of the biggest things here is trust your gut. Just like when you say, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. This is another instance to trust your gut when it comes to these scams. Some red flags to watch out for. If you get a message that feels too urgent, like click this now or your account will be locked. I've seen that one on Facebook.
Yeah.
Act now, because if you don't, we're going to lock your account or we're going to delete your profile.
I've seen where people have gotten texts from their bank, from their bank with that same kind of urgency, like your account's going to be locked.
Yeah.
You won't be able to spend your money if you don't click this link and reactivate, and your bank's not going to do that to you.
Exactly. If it's important, they're going to contact you another way.
Yeah.
If you've been asked to pay in gift cards or wire transfers, that is an obvious big red flag. Don't do it. If the grammar or the tone of the message feels off.
Yeah.
It used to be where those were really easy to detect because a lot of these scams were coming from overseas. And so the grammar would be off. It wouldn't sound like a normal conversation that you might have with a friend or a family member. But now, especially with AI,
it's gotten better.
Yeah, a lot of these are sounding a lot more real. So that one, is an obvious red flag, but it's becoming more rare. Or if someone says to keep this conversation secret, right?
Oh, yeah. That's a huge red flag.
That's a huge red flag. Why are they doing this? Well, they don't want you to tell other people about what's going on, because another person might say, wait a second, don't do that. Or wait a second, that's a scam. They're trying to trick you, and they're trying to trick as many people as they can within your social network.
What's interesting is, the person that we knew whose Facebook got hacked. They blocked all the people, the hackers. The first thing they did, they blocked all the people with the same last name.
Yeah.
So that their family didn't even see these hacked posts on their account.
What was interesting about it, though, is this person, I think it was their daughter, who had a different, like they had their married name as their last name on Facebook, was not blocked. Because the hacker didn't realize that this person
was related.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what led to a lot of the realization and what was happening.
But then anyone who commented on the like original post, like this is a scam,
yeah.
those people were immediately blocked too.
They were blocked.
It was just such a headache.
And then future posts, didn't they turn off the comments so that people couldn't say, hey, this is a scam, don't click the link. So it was actually a very intricate, kind of well
thought out.
Yeah. It wasn't just something basic that was easy to detect and get rid of.
Yeah. So also we see this one too. If someone offers you an investment opportunity over social media, especially crypto or foreign currency, just say no. Scammers love pitching those too good to be true deals that promise high returns with zero risk. And if it's too good to be true,
it's too good to be true.
It's too good to be true. Those don't exist.
And listen, getting scammed happens, right?
Yeah.
It's going to happen. In fact, I don't have the stat on this and I could probably look it up, but I guarantee you a large number, probably 80 to 100% of people will be scammed online in one way or another during their lifetime, right?
Yeah.
So it happens. Don't feel embarrassed about it. It happens to everybody. All ages, all backgrounds. What matters most is that you act quickly, and I think you can help educate, if it happens to you, other friends and your family so that it perhaps saves them the headache and they won't be kind of manipulated in the same way.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about something I'm particularly passionate about: protecting kids and grandkids online.
Yeah, it's a scary world.
It really is a scary world. And if you're a parent or a grandparent, this stuff matters just as much for your kids.
Yeah. Let's face it. As much as we as parents want to keep our kids offline and playing outside all the time, it's going to be impossible to keep them 100% away from these social media platforms. YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. I guess they're probably not using Facebook these days. That's for us older people.
That's probably true.
But
we also probably don't know what they're all using.
That's right. And there are even apps where you can hide apps
photos
inside.
And like hide. Yes.
You can hide your apps inside of other apps that look
normal,
like a legit normal app.
I think when I was still teaching, there was like a calculator app that was designed to hide like photos, so your parents wouldn't get into your phone.
Back in my day, you just used the calculator to, store some password, or not passwords, but some formulas and try to get a leg up and cheat on your math exam. Not that I ever did that.
No, but it's scary to think about what our kids have access to, who has access to our kids if we aren't paying attention.
Yeah, who they're communicating with and what those conversations could be like. And so let's go through some tips here.
Yeah. So in our own household, we're doing a few things. And granted, we've got a 2.5-year-old and a 7-week-old.
And we don't claim to know it all.
We don't claim to know it all.
This is what we do, and it's been working for us.
Yeah. So we are using the YouTube Kids app instead of regular YouTube when Laura does watch videos. We've turned off autoplay to avoid videos spiraling into weird content.
There's some weird videos out there. Even on the YouTube, like we had it set to the preschool age group, and we're still getting really weird videos. So I'm glad we figured this one out.
We've figured out how to
pick and choose the content.
Yeah, pick and choose content
or
that we've pre-approved for her. Yes.
Add channels specifically.
Yes, exactly. Set time limits on devices. So, we try not to go over 30 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
And she's actually responded really well to that for a 2.5-year-old, I think. When the time goes up, this kind of purpley screen pops up and we say, time to charge. And she hands it right back to us. And
what's funny about that is once the time runs out and it kind of locks, it asks you a multiplication problem.
Yeah.
And so it'll be like, what's 4 times 9?
So when she learns her times tables, we're not going to be able to use that.
I'm a little worried about, some of the younger parents out there because schools have kind of gotten away from teaching those multiplication tables.
We had to race through multiplication quizzes when I was growing up.
You have to pull out the calculator just to have your kids use YouTube Kids.
Exactly. And this is one that we really haven't gotten to quite yet in our household, but talk to your kids. Teach them not to share personal information online. even with people who seem nice. And she's really kind of too young for that. But I think as we get to the stage where she's doing more online, that's going to be really important.
And I know as they get a little older and they enter the early teen years, like apps like Instagram, you can have access to your child's account so that you can also see what they're doing and who they're communicating with. And so it's not just all kind of shrouded in mystery.
Yeah. And in my time as an educator teaching middle and high school, I knew some kids that had non-smartphones and they still had a phone. They could still communicate. They could still text, but they didn't have a computer walking around in their pockets with all these apps that their parents, didn't have as much control over. And some of those kids even still had their social media accounts, but they had them on their parents' phones.
Okay.
There's so many ways to navigate this as parents that who knows what the best way to do this is. I don't think anyone has all the right answers, but
I miss my dumb phone, my non-smartphone.
I'm sure we'll kind of figure this out as we get there, but I really kind of like those kids that had the flip phones. It took me back to my Motorola Razr days.
You remember trying to text with them? You had to click the button 3 times to get the C.
Yeah, exactly.
So also take a look at your privacy settings, right? On the apps that your children are using, you can usually restrict who can message them or completely block that altogether and view their profiles.
Yeah. So one thing that I also want to talk about is those really adorable first day of school pictures. They're so cute. And they always are trending in August. And it's August in our neck of the woods, but
September
in some other places. And people have a picture of their kid. They're holding a sign that has their whole name, their whole legal name, and then their date of birth and like what school they go to, how old they are, all this information, what class they're in, what they want to be when they grow up. And it's really, really cute, but it could be putting your child at risk.
Yes.
According to experts, including cybersecurity professionals, predators can use that information to build a profile of your child, potentially leading to identity theft or other malicious activities. And I've told you before, I really took note of this a few years ago when I was a former teacher. One of my girlfriends taught in a different school district in a different part of the state, but we're friends on Facebook. And a parent of a child that was in her 4th grade class posted one of these pictures, very excited that their child was going to be in this class. And just clicking on that post that I could see, I then could go and see this girl's gymnastics schedule, where she took gymnastics. And I'm not a malicious person, but imagine what a malicious person could do. Someone that really is a bad actor.
It was all just freely available for anybody bad that wanted to access.
And I felt like that little girl, that little 4th grader was so vulnerable in that post. And that mom probably had no clue. She was just probably sharing something really cute.
And that friends
the little girl in the Matilda Jane outfit. And she was a cute little girl, I'm sure. But I just remember that. And that was my first kind of thought, like, oh my gosh, I never want to do that to my child.
Uh-oh. That's right.
Yeah.
So details like your child's school, a teacher's name, or even their favorite activities, dance class, baseball, whatever it may be. All those little kind of clues can be pieced together by someone that has ill intentions. The information can be used or exploited to guess passwords, answer those security questions that we talked about, or even to impersonate someone your child knows. They could use this information, the bad people can use this information to gain your child's trust. They could say that they're an uncle or
I'm a friend of your dad.
And I know that you play baseball and that your
go
birthday
to
is in
school.
April. And so they can use this to gain trust. And that's when things get really scary. Right.
I've actually we've talked with my parents and your parents about like not posting too much information about our kids online. And our parents have been really good about that. But there was one time my mom actually went to, I think, pick up Laura from school, and she tagged the name of the school in her post when she posted it online. And I called her immediately and I was like, Mom, you've got to take that tag off. Yeah. Because I just, that's one of the things, like, you can post a picture at school. Don't post the name of the school. Yeah. Don't tag the school.
And we don't even like to post pictures of her at school just because there could be identifiable information in the background of those pictures, right?
So, but to keep your family safe, consider these precautions. Limit personal information you share in photos. Adjust privacy settings to ensure only trusted friends and family can view your posts. Mm-hmm. In fact, actually, we don't even do that. We just, we do that, but we don't send out pictures often enough. We just send pictures that we want to send to our family directly through a group chat. Yeah. Be cautious about the background of your photos, like you said, ensuring no identifiable landmarks or addresses are visible.
Yeah, we're trying not to tell you, don't have any fun or anything with your kids. Remember, it's just about balancing the joy of sharing milestones with the need to protect your family's privacy, because in the end, your family's safety should be the number one priority. A little caution goes a long way to keeping your loved ones safe online.
Yeah. So let's talk about what to do if you are targeted.
Yeah. So there are some steps here. If you get a sketchy message or you think that your account might be compromised, first step, just stop. Stop for a second. Don't respond. Don't impulsively give out information. Don't click that link. Take a breath and assess. That way you're in a clear mind and you do what is best.
Yeah. So next, report to the platform or the company that's pretending to be. Call your bank if it's something financial. Call your financial advisor if you need to. Change your passwords if you think you've been hacked. And please tell someone. Don't deal with it alone.
Yeah. We're not going to text sensitive information.
No.
And if you ever have a question or you feel like maybe something has been compromised or the person that's communicating with you is not who they say they are, reach out so that you have 100% clarity and you don't make a mistake, right?
Exactly.
It's always better to check in with a friend, your advisor, or a family member than to deal with a fraud situation in silence. And if something feels off, like we talked about many times here, it most likely is. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. If it feels off, it probably is.
Yeah. So we know that today's episode was more cautionary than feel good, but this is part of financial wellness and overall wellness in general. Protecting what you've built matters.
Absolutely. A little awareness and a few good habits, they can go a long way into protecting your financial future and your safety of your family. Just like you wouldn't leave your front door wide open, unlocked at night. Maybe back in the day you would. Maybe not wide open, but unlocked.
I don't know. In like those Mayberry towns on TV, they probably did.
Way back when. Don't leave your digital life unprotected today.
Exactly. And if you have questions about how to protect your accounts or help your kids stay safe online, our team at Eater Financial Wellness is happy to help any way we can.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these bad cases pop up, so we can kind of guide you in the right direction to make sure you're doing the right thing.
Exactly. So you can find us at eaterfinancialwellness.com. I'm Allison at eaterfw.com.
And I'm Adrian at eaterfw.com.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening today. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, I'm Wendy McConnell.
Thank you for listening to the BamCam podcast with Jack Burnett and Alison Castellano from Eater Financial Wellness, a financial advisory practice at RFG Advisory. To get in touch with us, visit today's show notes or go to our website at www.eaterfinancialwellness.com. That's ITER financialwellness.com. And please click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. Information here may be provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither our guests nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of our guest. They do not necessarily represent those of RFG Advisory, its employees, or its clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by RFG Advisory or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives of Private Client Services, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory, LLC. RFG Advisory, or RFG, a registered investment advisor. Private Client Services and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place. RFG Advisory is an SEC-registered investment advisor. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of RFG by the Commission, nor does it indicate that RFG or any associated investment advisory representative has attained a particular level of skill or ability.